Welcome aboard, friends. Thank you so much for joining us today. Anybody like spinach dip? Kaufman spinach dip? Abby's going to be in the kitchen toward the end of today's show, and we'll fill you in on how she makes it, and it was delicious. What supplements do I take? I'll go over that with you. A question came up the other day on Facebook, and we're going to answer that for you. Is leaky gut syndrome a real problem? You see, doctors are saying, no, the gut doesn't leak. And yet NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and some other things can widen the cellular gaps in the intestine and leakage may occur. Phytonutrients, the good beneficial effects of eating green leafy vegetables and other things. Those are called phytonutrients. We'll open today's show with phytonutrients in mind.
For the past 45 years, I have dedicated my life and my whole career to finding the root cause of disease. And I now know with certainty that we must play a role in our own health care. I'm a self-care advocate. You know what? Every time you change your diet for the better, exercise, or swallow a nutritional supplement, so are you. Now welcome to Know the Cause.
I think for a little fun, I'll break things up a little bit. A couple of years ago, I was invited to give a lecture on phytonutrients, phyto plant nutrients, nutrients in plants. Folks, this is quickly becoming huge business. As we run out of antibiotics that work, as we run out of antifungals that work, even scientists are scattering, trying to find natural herbs and spices and plants that grow in Brazil and things that might work universally to help people who are infected, help people who are sick and try and get better. So the word phytonutrient first came across my desk, probably 40 years ago while I was in California. And it's a big word, but let me go over some things with you, okay? In 2016, I was invited to lecture on phytonutrients and their possible role in cancer. There was a large group of physicians, not all of whom were cancer specialists, but collectively these guys, these men and women, saw over 1,000 patients a day. This was my chance. And I was going to try and prove two things to them. Now, it's such a blessing to be a non-physician, to be asked to lecture at one of these, because you can impact the minds of those physicians. And to give a man a fish, to give a physician a fish, means he eats for one day. To teach those doctors in that audience to fish means more of his patients will benefit from what he is absorbing. Okay, so here was my goal. Number one, both they and I believe that plant nutrition can be a powerful tool. This was an alternative group of doctors in cancer prevention and or recovery, and I intended to show them why. And number two, plants have had to survive germ attacks since they were placed on the earth. For a plant to thrive in the soil, it had to become a powerful or powerfully anti-germ. Okay, just understand that. A farmer plants 10 seeds and 7 or 8 of them grow. What happened to the other 2 or 3? That's the way we need to think. So what I did was I discovered that some of these phytonutrients could be used to treat cancer patients. Most commonly occurring cancers, according to the Center for Disease Control in women, breast, lung, colorectal. In men, prostate, lung, colorectal. So I had that information. And then I'm telling you, this is the truth. I sat down and I thought this is going to be a 1-month study to figure out which of these phytonutrients I wanted to study with regard to the top 3 or 4 causes of cancer. Here's what happened. Do plant phytochemicals have anti-cancer properties? I randomly chose phytochemicals because I could pronounce them. Ficitin, resveratrol, curcumin, proanthocyanidin, silmarin, genistein, camptothecin, sulforaphane, indole-3-carbinol, capsaicin, luteolin, and d-limonene were studied for their ability to inhibit the spread of cancer or a cancer pathway or induce apoptosis or cause cancer cells to burst apart in 4 of the leading types of cancer: colorectal, breast, prostate, and lung cancers. Okay, this is what I did. And I thought, well, I'll go through these 10 first, and then I'll find 10 more. And I told my wife I'm going to need 2 weeks to do this. Those 12, the more I delved into the scientific research, I couldn't believe. I didn't have to go to a second batch. Those 12 worked. Let's take just one of them, sulforaphane. Dr. Talele is the founding director of the Lewis B. and Dorothy Coleman Chemoprotection Center at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine. Smart guy. He is one of the top biochemical researchers or biomedical researchers in the world and was a pioneer in the field of phytochemicals. As a matter of fact, I think he was involved in discovering many of them, but naming many of them. I mean, a smart guy. In 1997, the Johns Hopkins Press release, Dr. Talele discovered that 3-day-old broccoli sprouts consistently contain 20 to 50 times the amount of chemoprotective compound, sulforaphane, that was found in mature broccoli heads, which may offer a simple dietary means of chemically reducing your cancer risk. Okay, this is really interesting. 3-day-old broccoli, organic if you will, consistently contain 20 to 50 times the amount of chemoprotection. If I'm going through chemotherapy, I want my cells to be protected. What he's saying is sulforaphane is the way to go. Sulfur-containing compound found in vegetables, answer your question, what is this stuff? It's found in the mustard family. Anti-carcinogenic isocyanide that is thought to function by stimulating the production of enzymes in the body that detoxify cancer-causing substances. We tend to think of only broccoli when we hear sulforaphane, but Brussels sprouts and a number of cabbage are abundant in this. So what I did, folks, was I lined up sulforaphane and then saw how it performed for colorectal cancer, breast, prostate, and lung. Did it work? Were there studies to prove it? Here's what I found. CR is colorectal. Induces cell death throughout this phase, arrests and triggers apoptosis, which means cell death in human colon cancer cells. Breast cancer, sulforaphane inhibits triple-negative breast cancer through activating tumor suppressor. Breast cancer, and the list just goes on and on. In prostate cancer, sulforaphane stabilizes the androgen receptor in prostate cancer cell by inactivating histone deacylase. And finally, lung cancer, sulforaphane-induced apoptosis, death in a certain type of lung cancer. I want to tell you the amazing thing about this. I literally, and so did the doctors who asked me to do this. The one doctor said, Doug, this might be a month for you sitting at home in the evening or on weekends putting this together. Try and find 12 that inhibit or kill colorectal, breast, prostate, and lung cancer. Like that. I think if I had enough time and did enough research, I could find that plant foods we eat prevent these diseases from coming on. We're all going to get in sugar, we're all going to get in chocolate, we're all going to get into a glass of alcohol. Afterwards, do me a favor, broccoli, cabbage. It doesn't sound, Brussels sprouts, it doesn't sound very appetizing, but apparently it's more powerful than we thought. Not surprisingly, sulforaphane is both anti-cancer and antifungal. A short time ago, the journal Bioorganic Chemistry announced that a series of new sulforaphane analogs, and folks, this is a long way of saying they're developing drugs, right? New sulforaphane analogs had been developed. The antifungal activity of the new compound, these analogs, were found to be higher than the activity of just the parent sulforaphane. Trust me when I tell you, here's where they're going. New drugs coming on the market whose base will be broccoli. Should we wait for the drugs, or should we start eating those now with or without cancer, hoping to prevent it? Hope that sinks in. So John asked me, Doug, what vitamins do you take? Everybody needs to know this. If you're eating green leafy vegetables, if you're eating clean meats, fish and so forth, and clean fruits, organic preferably, you're getting a lot of vitamins and minerals. Otherwise, you wouldn't be alive. The body needs these. There are certain fats, proteins, etc., that we all need. Vitamins and a good diet. Do I take a backup? I sure do. I take it every day. And here's what's fascinating. I have a couple of daily multivitamins that I take. So for a week, I'll take from this jar. And then for a week, I'll take from this jar. I tend to rotate them. This one has a little bit more niacin than this one. This one has a little bit more vitamin C than this one. If you find a good horse, we say in Texas, you ride it. If you found a multivitamin that you absolutely love and you know you're making up that which you aren't getting in your diet, hang on to that. That's a good one. Until that time, begin rotating a few of them and see which you really like. In other words, when it comes to vitamins, minerals, fats, amino acids, find your thumbprint. Between your diet and a good daily supplement, you will. As with most things I do on television, I try to isolate a problem for you, and then I try and have you be able to fix it. And that means going to a doctor and saying, "Doctor, I watched this show on TV and here's what I recommended. Could I get this test done? Would you mind if we try this prescription?" If the doctor says no to the prescription or no to the test, folks, if this isn't a severe problem, talk to him or her about trying this on your own. You will not believe what a change of diet does for our good health. Nobody seems to want to expound on that, right? But change your diet. That would be one of the first things. Now, the year was 1980, so it was, could it be 40 years ago? I had dark hair and a mustache. 40 years ago, a research paper was handed to me and laid on my desk for a few days before I read it. I believed 45 years ago that food allergy was a significant problem. And then one day, a doctor friend of mine sent me, we didn't have faxes or cell phones or texting back then, so he mailed a copy of an article. And let me tell you, I remember the title of that article, "Antigenically Intact Food Macromolecules Exiting the Gut Lumen," the lining of the intestine, the lumen. Antigenically intact? You mean bits of corn and wheat and milk and egg exiting the gut barriers? Antigenically intact? I mean, they're big, they can get out. Folks, we call this today leaky gut. It's kind of gross, but leaky gut is what it's called. And I think gut leakage leads to food allergy because we draw people's blood where their antibodies are, and we spin the blood down and pull off the serum, and we test against milk and wheat and corn, and many people react to food allergy. I have to wonder if we are testing what they're eating, making antibodies to, or are these really food allergies? And someday we'll go into IgG and IgE and IgM and IgA and IgD food allergies. But IgG and IgE are the two big ones. Before we go into all of that, I won't have time today, let me walk you down the leaky gut aisle, okay? First, let's define it. When your intestines or stomachs have tiny micropore leakage, we call it leaky gut. And I'm sorry, it's, it should be leaky stomach, leaky intestine, but it's leaky gut. Here's what, many years ago, an organization called the Annual Reviews of Nutrition said, "There is now irrefutable evidence that small amounts of intact peptides and proteins do enter the circulation under normal conditions or normal circumstances." Folks, does that say enter the circulation? Circulatory stream. Is that not blood? Where we make a protective antibody against that antigen called wheat or corn or peanuts. Is that because it's in our diet regularly? Is that what food allergy is detecting today? I mean, I don't know. I left that field when I learned that maybe all we're testing is what people are eating, right? They change their diet and then they become allergic to all the new foods they're eating. In order to do that, I said, they must leak through the intestines and stomach, okay? Now, what conditions, your logical question is, okay, Doug, are there predeterminants? Are there conditions that give rise to leaky gut? And I looked it up online and I was kind of fascinated at this. Look at all of them. Conditions associated with leaking intestines, autoimmune diseases, and there's what, 140 of them? Celiac disease, Crohn's, hives, acne, food allergies, arthritis, joint problems, ulcerative colitis, intestinal infections, CFS, giardia, eczema, psoriasis, dysfunctional liver, irritable bowel syndrome. CFS is chronic fatigue, I'm sorry. So many problems seem to be associated with leaky gut. There are those of us who believe, and again, I'm not a doctor, there are those of us who believe that when this is bad and leaking and inflamed and constipated or diarrhea, that this all goes hand in hand. The joint problems, the gout, the depression stems from here. Fix this and watch what happens to the rest of it. Now, you need to know the cause of leaky intestines. Did you know that ibuprofen, naproxen, aspirin, Advil, Motrin, Aleve, Midol, they're called NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. They can induce leaky gut syndrome. There's a test called lactulose mannitol. Write that down, lactulose mannitol with 2 N's. It can be done by a doctor's order. It's a 6-hour urine test. If the levels are found high, leaky gut likely exists. So you have to understand, folks, if you question, man, this sounds like me. I got all those symptoms. I got tummy problems. Could I have a leaky gut? Lactulose mannitol is what you want to ask your doctor for a test, right? Okay, if I had leaky gut, and I think I did many years ago, if I had leaky gut, what would I do? Once again, I'm not a doctor, so I'm going to tell you what I would do. If yeast can burrow a hole, these are the mycelium, the tail yeast, can burrow a hole through the lumen, poke a hole, then we chew up eggs and milk and cereal and out it leaks. You got to seal up the holes, folks. And colostrum, the first breastfeeding, colostrum, viscous, comes out of mother's breast. Bovine colostrum, if it's a non-hormone, non-antibiotic cow, I think that would be a good way of getting colostrum. That can also help seal up a gut. As I believe psyllium powder, P-S-Y-L-L-I-U-M, psyllium powder. Then if these are antibiotic-induced tiny openings in the intestine, you have to think probiotics. You got to start restoring the terrain of the bacteria. So between sealing up the gut with maybe bovine colostrum and maybe psyllium, change your diet. Don't put foods in there that are going to, cause food allergy. And then most importantly, you've got to put the good bacteria in, the good terrain. A good probiotic is essential. You got that now? If leaky gut exists, get it tested and then make every effort to fix it. Your doctor may not know a lot about this, but I'd sure educate him or her on the fact that something's really wrong down here. You're wondering if it's linked to all of these other health problems you have, and you'd like to take the next 60 days changing your diet, starting psyllium, starting bovine colostrum, and starting probiotics and see if you can fix it. Stay in touch with your doctor, because when a doctor sees this revelation, how well you feel in 2 months, he may then begin treating his other patients the same way.
Hi, welcome to my kitchen. My name is Abby. Today I'm going to show you probably the best dip that I have ever made. It is fantastic. It is great to take to parties. It's great to just have at home in your fridge if you just want something to dip some veggies in. It's a great dip all around. It's very easy to make. I'm going to show you how to do it today. What you're going to do, you need a really big bowl because it makes a lot. It's a very large recipe, so it's not just like an individual thing. So you're going to want to make a lot and then store some for later. But you're going to start off with some sour cream. And then you've got some mayonnaise. This is about 2 cups of mayonnaise. Then we are going to add, I've got some frozen chopped spinach. This is around 12 ounces. I've let it thaw out and I've squeezed as much of the water out as I can. And for the mayonnaise, make sure that you use something that's Kaufman approved. They've got a lot of different mayonnaises on the market now that are made with like olive oil and healthy oils and stuff like that. Just make sure you don't get one that's made with vegetable oil. Next, I got a can of chopped water chestnuts. I went ahead and drained them out. They're whole chestnuts, so you just have to chop them up a little bit, but these add a nice extra little bit of a crunch. Make sure we get all those in there. And then I've got around 5 stalks of green onions chopped up, ready to go. Now for our spices, I've got garlic powder. I've got dried dill. I've got a little bit of salt. I've got some xylitol, just to add a little bit of sweetness. And then this is some dried sage. And then a little bit of ground black pepper. Like I said, it's that easy. You just take it, you mix it up until it's all nice and evenly incorporated. And then you're gonna let this sit in the refrigerator for anywhere from 2 to 24 hours. Obviously, the longer it sits, the more blended the flavors you'll get. But if you're going somewhere you need to take like a dip or something for a party, you can make this around 2 hours ahead of time. Just let it sit, chill out. It's still really good. Okay, now I'm just gonna go sit this in the fridge. All right, it's been a couple of hours. I've got my dip out of the fridge. It's nice and chilled and ready to go. I've already put some on a plate with some veggies for me to eat, and I am going to dig in. You can immediately get some of the green onion flavor. You've got a little bit of crunch from the water chestnuts. The spinach is delicious. Everything is super good. Again, if you're using good quality products like good quality sour cream and a Kaufman approved mayonnaise, this is all Kaufman 1. So get your friends to try this, and this will definitely convince them that they can definitely do the Kaufman diet. The full recipe is on our website, knowthecause.com. Try this, let me know how you like it, and have a great day.
So you see, my friends, if you're eating a good, wholesome diet, not a lot of fast foods, anything in moderation except moderation itself, or unless you're very, very sick. If I had a disease like diabetes, type 1 or type 2 diabetes, if I had lupus, if I had cancer or heart disease, I don't think anything in moderation would apply. I don't want a hamburger and French fries, right? I don't want the damage to be done inside my body with foods like that when I can eat foods with sulforaphane in it that really helps my body get better. How do you learn more about this? I've committed. Television is one thing, but there's no personal interaction with you and me on television. And hundreds of people have written to our office and said, how can I communicate directly with Doug? In 1999, working clinically with all these doctors, I just said, the bigger audience is for me. 30 minutes, 45 minutes at a time with each one of their patients just didn't do the rest of the world good. So what I now do is something called social media. Every Tuesday and Thursday, from 3 to 4 p.m. on Tuesday, 2:30 to 4 p.m. Central Time, Dallas time, you can communicate with me. I go on Facebook, I go on YouTube, social media. I'm talking to you live right here on this set. And you can type in questions, and I'll try and answer as many of them as I can. We really want to broaden the base of this show, really give you information that will help, and good foods like spinach dip. God bless you. Great to be with you today.